Peace and love, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of light. Um, First, I must give credence unto Yahweh, Yah Ben Ami, and also to my master and teacher Ben Ami for making sure that all things are brought back to remembrance. Prodigal son. Prodigal son. Just to give you an idea of this process I'm going through, it takes me back to the early days. At the inception of the development of my political consciousness and ultimately spiritual consciousness. And that entire journey, and I have been just thinking, the many people I've met, the things I've learned, the things I've heard, the things I've seen. It's been quite a journey. Been exposed to many different ideas, politically and so on. But at this time, I found myself going back to history, contemporary history, ancient history, and particularly looking at the different dominions that have existed in the earth. As we know, the present dominion is the Euro-American civilization, the dominant force in the earth. There were many others before that. We can talk about the British Empire. We can talk about who else can we talk about? Rome. We can talk about Greece, and all the way back. Ancient Babylon, and so on and so on. Ancient Egypt, obviously. How can we forget that? Different powers that dominated throughout history. But ultimately, realistically speaking, all the empires ultimately declined for a number of reasons. But primary and core was always moral degeneracy, and really what that is the relationship of the people with truth significantly declines. Significantly. What do I mean by that? Truth. Just telling the truth. Telling the truth. Because human beings, don't want to be caught lying. All of us. It's a human thing. We don't like to be wrong. We don't like to be caught lying. There are certain aspects of ourselves we don't like to be seen, So lying, for example, you could do something that is off and someone say to you, but that's not right though. And then you're like, no, but I didn't do that. I'm not doing what you're saying, and then it becomes an argument. But if you're lying, you're not helping yourself. Because if you're doing things that are detrimental to yourself and you're finding reasons to explain why you must not be spoken to and why you must continue, and you're lying to yourself, obviously, that path, it will not lead to a great end. It's not likely to. If you're lying to yourself, and so that same reality applies. Because remember, a nation, a state, a civilization, empire, whatever you want to call it, is simply a reflection of a human being. As a human being, there are certain household issues you have to take care of, just like the state has to. Certain security issues, certain economic issues, the state is just like you in your household. And so if you're not managing things well in your household and you keep lying to yourself about it, if you have terrible fiscal policy in your household, you're gonna be devastated. And I know this from experience. I've experienced many different moments where my fiscal policy was good and when it wasn't. And when it wasn't good, I'm telling you, you can't fake the reality. You feel it. You can feel it that need to really rethink this fiscal policy. Yo. So truth, the relationship with truth. Unfortunately, in many ways, a lot of the civilizations or empires were based on deception and not truth, and as such, they could not survive, no matter how powerful they were. And it is for the same reason that the days are numbered for the present empire if it continues in this trajectory. There is no other way. If it continues to decline, it will decline. It's just that simple. And so, I look at ancient texts, ancient spiritual practices that have been. I mean, I am one of those people who was always curious about different forms of spiritual practices. I mean, at some point, I read a little bit of the Quran, found it was interesting. I don't remember a lot of it, but I saw quite a few connections, similarities with the Hebraic narrative, you know, the Hebrew narrative. And then I looked at, I mean, I've also read the Egyptian text, the the book of the coming forth, I think they call it. Some call it the Book of the Dead. I looked at that. And also some narratives from, Sumer. And yeah, I've also taken keen interest in those civilizations. Um, so I've always gone back to look at these narratives. Um, and so not in search of religion, but truth and understanding and enlightenment, understanding the human condition, and some of the issues that affect the trajectory and the development of a people. And so, looking at the different world powers, that once dominated the world, they always collapsed from within, based to a number of, due to a number of factors. I think I alluded to Ray Dalio earlier, but he really explains geopolitics well. But yeah, you would get the idea, the decline of civilizations, when they just become so drunk with prosperity, even their spiritual development is not meshed up with the material prosperity, and therefore they do not have the wisdom to know how to use their prosperity, and therefore they use it to destroy themselves. It is a human condition. I don't care about the religion. It's a human condition. Always start out the best of intention. We build in something great, and then somewhere along the way, you lose your way. And then before you know it, you've built an empire based on lies and deception. And unfortunately, it can't last. Anything not based on truth, unfortunately, this is just the law. I didn't make the rules. Yeah, I'm just observing historically and looking at everything that has happened, the same patterns with all the empires. Decline, rise, decline, rise, decline. Look at similar elements in the establishment, the founding, the rise. See similar elements in the decline. And we're looking the present dominion, similar elements of decline is going down. But really, when I look at all these things, I think about some of the principles that my master and teacher taught me, and I will be sharing some principles with you, some ideas, thoughts. You will, decide what to do with it, but I think having shared it, at least you will have an idea of where I'm coming from. But one of the ancient texts that I was looking at, researching, was this book of Enoch. Um, And I mean, I haven't looked at it in depth, but one of the things that I picked up as I was, looking into it was that it seems that in that time period that is being described there, there was this idea where those who represented truth, righteousness, and light, uh, they were of the view that, you know, proper worship has to do with seasons and cycles. And that's why, even when you look at indigenous cultures, the way of life always very much in link, sync the natural seasons and cycles, you know. And you will also find that there was a lot of study of the heavenly bodies to understand how those things impact the cycles and the seasons and so on. And so the ancients were wise in that sense, and they understood that, hey, we are a small part of this very intricate system, and we need to seek to understand it so that even in developing ourselves and building our world, we do our best to remain harmonized with this world. And so even ancients understood this principle in how they developed and they built. That's why in ancient Timbuktu you find that great university there, um, the university in Timbuktu. It's I forget the name of it, but it was built using the material available there in the natural environment, mud, you know. And so you see that there was that understanding that, yeah, when we build, we must consider the natural environment, as we are a small part of this larger system, larger ecology. So there was always that understanding. And obviously you had those people who, among the indigenous peoples, just didn't see the need to build anything and just thought, hey, we could do well in the forest. We're good over here. We can have everything we need, be just fine. And they've survived generations, from generation to generation, in the forest. No TV, no cell phone, not, they're doing their thing. So, it's again the intelligence that is required to survive and thrive in that kind of environment. And so you observe these things that across cultures, whether you're looking at North American Indians, Australian Aborigines, African indigenous peoples in Western in Asia, indigenous people everywhere you find these Eastern African cultures, have this theme across. Everywhere you find indigenous peoples, there's always, I mean, there's differences. People have always been different, but you find there are always these common threads around these principles of existing in harmony with everything else, the principles that govern life and so on. And so this idea, and I think about my own culture. In Chivenda, the season for planting is called Chilimo. You know, the planting season, Chilimo. Chilimo comes from the word Ulima. Ulima means to plow, to till the soil. That is correct. So literally, it is the season to till the soil, yo. So that's how our people lived their lives. That's how they structured their societies and everything. It was like, what's happening? How do we align with what's happening? Okay, we tend to be planting around this season because this is seems to be the best time to plant, and we get our harvest at a certain period. Okay, this is Chirimo, Rekolima, Bash. Beautiful alignment. And so my message is not a political one. At this time, it is not a religious one. It's not any of that. It's simply a message of alignment. I will make reference to spiritual texts, different spiritual texts. Doesn't have to be anyone in particular, because I think beyond all of these things, man. When I look at people of different political parties, different religions, all the different clubs that we all swear by and play for, but I mean, none of them can stand the test of truth. Truth reigns supreme. None of them can stand the test of truth. Because realistically, you could declare whatever religion you declare, but I'm telling you, if you live an unhealthy lifestyle, you don't take care of your health, the chances are very high that you're going to be sick and badly sick, regardless the religion. It's just the principles that govern life. So I look at this and I will be extracting eternal ideas from different sources. Eternal ideas, just to share with you a few ideas that I have been exposed to, and that we need to now move towards recentering, realigning ourselves so that we can get ready to be in the right frame of mind to build the right thingies. To build the right things, my brothers and sisters. I meant what I said. You got to consider your direction, your development models. I think by now we have been able to see. I think we will need to think a lot about the systems that govern us, given the election outcomes that we have seen in the recent election season. What happened in the political theater left many people uneasy, myself included. And so we must begin to think. We must begin to think. You wanna open another political party, maybe? Add to the hundreds that are already there? Or maybe you want to start a new religion. To add to the ones that already exist. Gotta tell you, man. Truth. Truth. Human beings, they're just honest with themselves. Because in politics what happens, ne? In the political theater. Everyone is trying to make themselves appear clean and pure. But the reality is none of them are clean. And that's why one of the greatest challenges in the religious, if you could call it religious or spiritual tradition, whatever you want to call it, the story, the most commonly known story of Jesus, that when they brought him a woman and they said, we have caught her in sin. She's been sinning all over the place, man. And we know the law says she gotta be killed, man. Gotta be stoned to death. And, to paraphrase, the response was, well, okay, that's fine. We can agree. The law says what it says. But I will only allow those who have never ever done anything wrong to stone her to death. Only if you are pure and clean. Now, the difficulty becomes, if you claim you are pure and clean and it comes out that you're not, you got problems. And what is the problem there? Truth. And that's what happens in the political theater. So and so stole money. This is unacceptable. This is corrupt. And then the next day, the one who was talking yesterday is the one whose thing is being exposed now. I'm watching the game unfold and I'm waiting to see, but it is theater. It is theater, and I watch it. But I watch it closely to see everything. Now, I don't have a very great memory, but hey, my political memory, I don't ever forget things that happened historically, especially that appear significant to me. Especially when someone said something in the past and then they start to change. I pick these things up and I etch them. I'm like, but yesterday you were saying this, and it shows you this thing is not straightforward. I mean, the DA said to us, we can never work with the ANC. It absolutely goes against our principles. It goes against the principles of the Moonshot Pact, the multi-party. What was it? Yeah, that one. Then elections came around. We got the outcomes that we were shown. Many people question. I have many questions myself. But that's what we got. And then the ANC and the DA were the first two parties to have conversations with each other. I, I'm not making it, I'm not introducing anything, y'all. The DA from Helen Ziller to John Steenhuisen prior to the elections, man, they were adamant. Not going to work with the ANC. We need to take the ANC out. The political theater, brothers and sisters. We must consider. We must think differently about these things. And so, let me end it here for now. For us who have the Hebrew faith, we consider this to be the seventh day, the week. And we understand that we are supposed to rest, take it easy, take a break on the seventh day. Then tomorrow on the first day, we get back to it. I've not followed this cycle for a while, but in my return to my remembrance, I remember these things. And I'm thankful to be reminded of these things. There are certain practices that empower one. And that's why I said, when I thought back in my history, when was I at my best? Intellectually, spiritually, everything. It was when I was at the highest level of my practice as a Hebrew. And I thought about it that, why am I torturing myself when I've been given such tools to ensure I am victorious? And so, brothers and sisters, truth. Each and every one of us has to reflect, and we must reach whatever conclusion we reach in terms of what we're going to do. Some may decide maybe they need to vote for a different political party. Some may think, hey, I don't know, join a social movement, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I'm not giving out answers. I'm putting out probing questions. I'm putting out thoughts to provoke you. This is just the intro. To our series where we will be assessing where we are and what some of the keys are that were left behind that could possibly get us out of this situation. Now, mostly, what the things I'm saying, even when I'm talking about get us out of this situation, see, if you don't know what I'm talking about, yeah, it'll be difficult because I think, yeah, those who have an understanding of geopolitics and things that are happening and the power struggles that are taking place, and then looking at Africa's position in the whole equation. Yeah, I think those who understand the kind of forces in the world and what they're capable of, um, that we are referring to. Um, the present dominion, make no mistake. I was reminded by a brother. I was on a call with him. He reminded me that, hey, man, yeah, yeah, it might be the season where this dominion declines, but don't make no mistake, it's still very powerful. So the present dominion is still very powerful. But what then are you going to do? Yeah, I will share a few thoughts, simple ideas that perhaps we can all relate to. But, this idea of Ubuntu awakening, I go back to remembering what it was about in the first place. A restoring of our humanity and our senses as a people. I mean, I don't know, like, how do we keep following the models of development and whatever that don't work for us? Don't work for us. Don't give us the best outcomes. Sure, there are other people who have benefited in the past and continue to benefit from, neoliberal policy frameworks, for example, and things like that. But yeah, the people are always the losers in every case. So yeah, um, I'm not trying to get you to lose hope. That's not the intent. I'm just trying to get you to think. Think, because the only way you solve problems is to think. And I encourage my brothers and sisters at this time to really sit down and think. Think about the state of your community. Think about the state of your country. Think about the state of the African continent. Think about the state of the world. Look at yourself as a speck on this planet and look at all the different moving parts geopolitically and think. I think one of the most instructive seasons for perhaps my peers has been this very moment in history where you get a sense that Africans are like, when it comes to political leadership, you never really know who you can trust. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Who can you really trust? Now, again, the skepticism with your trust, where does that come from? I mean, you surely have heard all the beautiful things political leadership has been saying to you, right? I mean, I can't think of a single political party that said, we are going to wreck your lives, we are going to destroy you, we are going to oppress. I have not heard one during the political campaign. Oh, I heard the most beautiful things. You see, we need to solve this. We actually need to look at this. Actually, what would make the people's lives better is this. And every one of you, having listened to the different political campaigns and speeches, okay, let me not say every one of you, but I would like to believe most of you were like, I hear it, but I don't know. Your problem is truth. You're like, yeah, I hear you. I hear all those things you're saying to me. But is it the truth, though? this word truth, I use it deliberately, knowing that it triggers a lot of people, especially those of the academic proclivity. Because I know, I've been in academia. I mean, I remember in undergrad how I tried to get in there all excited. Yay, truth, the truth. And they were like, truth? We don't use that word here. Truth is subjective. I was like, wait, I mean, isn't the truth the best honesty, the best policy? I was like, we do not use that word here. There is no truth. We make arguments here. We advance arguments. We don't do that truth thing over here. And then it takes me back that concept. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Eish, it's a loaded concept. They keep telling you, don't deal with that truth stuff. Truth is subjective. There's none of that. It's not truth. Then someone is said to have said a couple of years ago, couple thousand years ago, someone is said to have said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Well, I think if we're talking about the need to be set free, it obviously means there's something holding you captive, right? I mean, if we have to talk about, and um, and that's why this is conversation for specific people, for people who feel like their souls are held captive in this world system and this world order. Those people, those who are free and they don't feel they held captive by anything, hey, it's all good. But if you just feel like there's just something that's not right with this entire way of life. This whole, idea and like those people. Now, truth is the ingredient, you know. You shall know the truth, truth shall set you free. You need to be set free, surely you must be held captive. And if truth is the ingredient to set you captive, well, then who or what is holding you captive? Truth is the answer. What's the problem? Lies. Lies. Deception. Again, I mean, the political theater is a good example of deception. Deception is not just to lie, it is to create a picture. It is to project that reality is like this, when actually it is not like that. It is actually very different. That's deception. That it is to create a narrative. It's to tell a story that is so convincing that you're like, yeah, this is the truth. Now that's deception. It's not just lying. It's turning the narrative on its head. It's turning black into white and white into black. That's deception. Deception is, this is not a pen. Someone come to you and say, this is not a pen. If you believe, you allow yourself to be convinced, and that is how propaganda works, folks. It's narrative, channel a way of thinking that even if you always knew that this is the truth, but through propaganda, we can slowly, slowly, slowly turn you to see things our way. That's what propaganda simply is. And that's what television, media, everything, all these things telling stories. That's what it's all about. It's like, hey, listen to us. And we sure hope after listening to us, you really, really will see things our way. We really, really are hoping that by the time we finish this dialogue, you really, really will see things our way. That's how deception works, y'all. That's how deception works. And it's not so invasive all the time. I mean, like you see how the dialogue was friendly. Some it can really be friendly, and by the time at the end of the dialogue, it'll be like, "Yeah, man, hey, you're right, man. I agree." You see that? That's why Benami said, I paraphrase. He said, "The power to define in the hands of righteous men." I think uh, it can be a tool for empowerment. But the power to define in the hands of evil men can be a tool of oppression. The power to define. That's where it's at. The power to define. And through the power to define, deception. And you could even deceive an entire world. Mm. To the point where you could see someone here in South Africa and go to America and find someone who sees things exactly the same way. So, truth. Truth is this small nyana problem. Smaller nyana problem. Truth. It's very problematic, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm trying to rattle y'all feathers. Truth. We all have a problem with it, because, and at some level, there are instances where human beings just really don't want their humanity to be seen, their weaknesses to be seen. And that's fine, maybe, to not expose your everything in public, but at least just don't lie to yourself. Please do me a favor. Just at least please don't lie to yourself. Don't look. I put these things on, you know, these Hebraic uh, uh, materials, not to appear holy or any of that. No, these are just things that remind me of my journey and my practice as a Hebrew, and the image projected by he who taught me, and giving credence to him. But other than that, there is no righteousness, holiness stuck in the fabrics there or somewhere here. There's nothing. It's just fabric. And when you meet me, all you should be saying to me though is, "Hey, those are some nice threads. I like your style. It's kind of unique. What is it?" But there's nothing mysterious and holy and mystical about any of this. These are just fabrics. The essence is inside. Now, when you meet me, you engage with me, maybe you spend a few days with me, then you know what I am, what kind of animal, what kind of creature. Just like this, and even listening to me here, you don't even know me, don't know what I'm about. Truth, brothers and sisters, who you are beyond what you say. Gotta be truthful. And you will see that this process, this kind of journey, it's very freeing. Where you think about a situation and go like, say you are reflecting on a past relationship, and you're like, yeah, that person hurt me. But you know what? I also was not the best human being to be around at that time. You know, I also, I mustn't lie here. I also had my things there. You know, that is what is required. Truth. Yeah, no, I acknowledge. That person, they hurt me in this and this and this way. But the thing with me though is, hey, I'm problematic on this and this and this. I promise you, try that exercise. Try to do that. Oh, it's so freeing. You'll feel much much freer, regardless where you are in your development. You will still have other things possibly you're struggling with, but just starting by acknowledging things that you're struggling with. That's the only way, that's the best way. Truth, you know? I like being around people who are truthful, you know? Being truthful is not being rude. That's not being truthful. Being truthful is finding the way to communicate because you are dealing with human beings and you understand what human beings are like. And so you know that I must be truthful. Okay, I disagree with you on this, you know? I Gavi, no malice or anything. I just, I really think, I can't agree with this view because and because of because. Truthfulness, just being truthful. Or you know what, the other day, there was this and this and that you did or that you said or whatever that I didn't like. This is when human beings are living with each other. That didn't sit right with me. And I really hope you wouldn't do that again. You know, it's not a fight. It's just expressing that, hey, I didn't feel great about that thing. Just didn't feel right and everything. Then maybe the other person reflects and apologizes and then says, yeah, try to do better. We can only try to do better as human beings. But you gotta be honest with yourself first. Truth. And I mean, you can even come on the comments and say, I know your stories. I know your stories. You're just talking. Hey, if you think you know something about me and you want to expose it, sure. But it will just prove you the point. We're human beings, we are trying to do better. There are things we're not proud of. But I'm comfortable with that. I'm not trying to pose as anything but I'm just being me. And I would like more than anything to see better life outcomes for myself, for those around me, for African people, and indeed the entire human family. But my immediate concern is African people. I really pray we get better life outcomes. And that is what I must endeavor to do as I put my hand to the task at hand to do the work that is necessary. But brothers and sisters, this is going to have to be work of love, work that is born out of love for myself, love for my people, and a desire to see better outcomes for us. Tough journey, but it is necessary. So let us think on these things. Truth, starting with ourselves. And really, yeah, when I say truth, I'm not saying just start going out here and being a truther. Hold on, relax. Start with yourself. Charity begins at home. Remember? Start with yourself. Take your time with yourself. Take yourself on this journey of really being honest with yourself and really acknowledging your weaknesses, but also acknowledging those things that you are great at. It's all part of that process. Truthful. There's two columns. There's the weak, there's the strong. So you must see, where are you on the weak? Where are you on the strong? Try to strengthen. Try to strengthen. May Yah Yahweh Ben Ami watch over you and keep you until we see each other again. Shabbat Shalom.